In 1930, a bridal boutique in Mexico displayed a new mannequin in their front window. But locals noticed there was something off about this mannequin. It made them feel uneasy. They say it felt like it was watching them, and it looked almost like a real person. Even stranger, the shop owner's daughter had recently died on her wedding day, and the mannequin looked just like her. People began to talk. They believed it was too lifelike to be a doll. The hands, for instance, looked just like human hands. There's so much detail. The rosy red cheeks and the expression. It even has varicose veins. This led locals to believe it was the embalmed body of the shop owner's daughter. And for the last 91 years, this has been a much debated mystery, and it's still on display to this day. Now, embalmers and morticians say it would take too much work to keep a body this well preserved for so long. But on the other hand, we have experts saying that even today, mannequins aren't this lifelike. So for this being made in the 1930s, when other mannequins of that time looked like this, it just wasn't possible to craft a mannequin like this back then. So they say this could well be a mummy, a corpse bride, maybe a perfectly preserved labour of love. But either way, there's definitely more to this story. Something hidden, perhaps something sinister. Towards the end of the Cold War, radio hams around the world started reporting a strange broadcast that continuously played creepy sounds that didn't seem to make any sense. This is what they heard. It's now come to be known as the gong. It broadcast continuously for many months. The theory on this one is that it's what's known as a numbers station, and the messages were coded secret instructions from government agencies to operatives. But to this day, the eerie sounds of the gong are still unexplained. In 2019, this unsettling clip was posted to Facebook. It shows everyone seemingly frozen in time. The uploader says this was her second pass through the location. She had driven to a store 10 minutes before this, and when she first drove through the area, the place was completely empty. A few comments on the video say this was maybe a prank, maybe an acting class, but as we can see, they all seem completely frozen, and some are stood in positions that would be awkward to maintain. None of them move even slightly. So this is definitely very creepy. And many believe this video is proof that we live in a simulation and this event was a glitch. There are many tales throughout history from different cultures that talk about giant beings that once inhabited the earth. But there's never really been anything to prove this, until recently when there's been a couple of discoveries that have made historians question what we know about our history. One of those discoveries is this enormous footprint in a rock in South Africa. It's around 4 feet high, and if this really is a footprint of some giant ancient creature, that being would have been around 40 feet tall. Also, in 2016, a group of photographers were exploring a remote village in China called Pingyan. There, they stumbled across a rock with another giant human-shaped footprint. This one is 57 centimeters long, 20 centimeters wide, and 3 centimeters deep. Now these finds created quite a buzz, and they've drawn a lot of critics, and they say they're just unusually coincidental rock formations, but others believe this is undeniable proof that colossal beings once roamed this planet way before we did. As we know, Tesla's electric and autonomous vehicles use a complex system to navigate roads safely. And recently a Tesla owner posted a clip showing him parked in a graveyard where that object detection system was alerting him to an entity stood right next to his vehicle that he is unable to see. On the 4th of July 1928, Alfred Lowenstein, a Belgian man, the third richest man in the world at the time, boarded a small aircraft that would take him from London to Belgium. On board were 6 other people. the pilot, the mechanic, his wife, and 3 of his employees. All of them recall how a short while into the flight, around 6:30 p.m, while crossing the English Channel, Mr. Lowenstein stood up from his seat and went to use the restroom at the rear of the aircraft. 10 minutes went by. He had not returned. His wife, who noticed he'd been gone for quite a while, knocked on the restroom door to see if he was okay. However, there was no reply. She called again. Still, no reply. The passengers, worried at this point, forced the door open and were shocked to discover the room was empty. Lowenstein was nowhere to be seen. He had somehow vanished into thin air. The aircraft landed and an investigation was launched and the passengers were interviewed. They all had the same story, that basically 1 minute he was there and the next he wasn't. None of them saw what happened to him. 2 weeks later, on the 19th of July, Mr. Lowenstein's body was found washed up on a beach in France. An autopsy confirmed he had a fractured skull and that he was still alive when he hit the water, meaning that he must have jumped to his death or accidentally opened the wrong door and fell. Or he was pushed. Now, people theorize he couldn't have possibly jumped to his death or accidentally stepped off the plane, as the cabin doors on the aircraft are spring-loaded, and with the pressure in the cabin mid-flight, it would have taken many people to force the doors open. And surely, even if he somehow managed to open the doors, someone would have seen it, or at least heard it. It was a tiny aircraft. So, in the eyes of some, that only leaves the other possibility: murder. They believe the passengers pushed him to his death, and they were all in it together on this sinister act, and this was all planned, possibly under orders from Lowenstein's wife, who was said to be desperate to get her hands on his fortune. But oddly, no one was ever arrested or charged. No one was even accused, and it's said he was so unpopular from his business dealings, he was laid to rest in an unmarked grave. So 93 years on, no one knows exactly how Alfred Lowenstein died, and unfortunately, this seems like a mystery that will never be solved. This clip emerged recently that shows an alien-like creature walking down a road in India. It briefly stops and glares back at the motorcyclists, and then carries on walking down the road. This haunting clip has left many on social media trying to figure out what it is, and the bikers were interviewed by local news, and they believe it to be a witch. But what do you think this is? A hoax? An alien? Or some kind of supernatural creature? And that brings this video to an end. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one, and for now, goodbye.